good, right?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I learned about mezcal when I was down there. I'd never heard of it until I went to Mexico City. Tequila, of course, but mezcal is really interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting
It's
take on
winning
that.
here.
It's what?
He's winning here more than the tequila now. Everywhere is mezcal in every part, every restaurant they sell mezcal, mezcal.
Ah, there's Will Spivey. All
There
right.
you go.
I bet he knows about some mezcal.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about. Mezcal, it's not just for breakfast anymore.
We were talking about International Dance Month, and then the dance that they're celebrating with EduMotion is a Mexican dance, and then Stella was giving us the Mexicans. You know, they celebrate Cinco de Mayo all year. It's not just one day.
Mezcal will make you dance.
Always.
Okay, well, should we get started? Okay. Well, I know we have more people that signed.
Yeah, we had more people that signed up. Hopefully people will come in. I'm going to start sharing again and we can get started.
Okay. Thank you all for being here on time. This is a new, as I said earlier, this is a new thing we started doing at 11:30. People may not be realizing that we changed our time, even though it says it when you sign up. Okay. So basically what we do at the beginning, we say, who has news to share? And I wanted first to give a shout out to our amazing team, Nicole Gentles. Raise your hand, Nicole. She's our marketing events coordinator. And then we have Destiny Charles. Raise your hand, Destiny, who's program coordinator. She keeps all the trains running on time. And our past staff members on the call, Shelby Newsom, we still claim her, even though she was working over there in Pembroke. But, you know, we love Shelby, and lots of you on the call know our team. So we're very glad that you're here. And Mike Bukovich, glad that you're here. I'm glad you could join us. So we are going to talk about, first, we always like to share, what is your news? What news do you have in your business, in your life that you'd like to share? We really like to kind of get our creative team members and creative momentum members to share their latest and greatest. So does anybody have anything to share? What's going on? I know Mike has something he's working on. Mike, you want to share a little bit about Vertical Curve at all? No, yes. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Mike's on mute at the moment, yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, he's just written in chat. He's coming in 1 second. Yeah.
Okay. Will Spivey, I'm sure you have something to share. What's going on in your life?
I don't know if I have anything to share. Not a lot new. It's funny, I'm messaging here with Margot, and I had a lunch with Margaret the other day. My path has intersected with sort of a high net worth guy who is an investor in small companies, but he's not really angel stage. I mean, he's more like a $4 million, $7 million type of investment. So it's definitely post revenue. And I actually had a lunch with Margaret a couple of weeks ago, just talking about our graduates and who may be approaching that threshold. This guy does both debt and equity investing. So if any of you are kind of getting to that level, I think everybody on here has my contact info. Just ping me and I'd be happy to talk to you and see if it makes sense to facilitate an introduction. That's really all I got, Margaret.
All right, great. Thank you for reminding me about that. Right, and I've been talking to some other alumni startups, and I'm thinking about we might want to have a little investor pitch of a lot for alumni later on in the year. That might be kind of something we could offer as a follow-on. But anyway, so anyone else got any news? Mike, did you want to share some news?
Hey, Margaret. Yeah, sorry about that. Had to switch devices there real quick. Let's see, news. I think that the user experience design centers are starting to take on a life of their own. We've got Richmond and SCAD down in Savannah lined up, and Peter, Marsh, and Adrian and I are in the final steps of putting the curriculum together for the 20 startups that will be in the 2021 cohorts. So this is all going to be focused on the user at the very beginning of the startup life cycle. That's basically in an effort to minimize pivoting and throwing away development money and not jumping off a cliff before you actually understand what problem you're trying to solve and all that kind of good stuff. So that's on its way to opening up a center in the Triad. We've got Greenville, South Carolina, Charlotte, and Charleston sort of in a pipeline for 2022. So that's sort of what we've got going on, and wanted to join today as everybody's starting their 2021 accelerators, et cetera, just sort of plug in a little bit.
Yeah, great. Well, that's a perfect segue into our next slide, which is our Velocity Accelerator applications are now open. The program runs July through October. Applications are open. This is a really great opportunity for creative entrepreneurs to gear up and get serious about business models and earn revenue. And Nicole's going to share the link with you in the chat. If you would share this link with anyone that you know that is interested in building out their business. We are having info sessions on May 4th, May 20th, and June 2nd. Our applications close on June 6th. So please spread the word, and you can do it really easily by following CCE on our social and on either Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn or Instagram. And we post there regularly, and then you can just share that out to your network. That would be a big help to us. We're trying to get the word out. And again, we provide, there is a 25,000 seed stage funding that's available, up to 25,000. We actually invest 50,000, but the top prize is 25. And so there's some skin in the game there to be able to get incentive to really participate in the program and grow. So we invite you to share this information. Really appreciate that. So our May event, we are going to be hosting a party for our 10th anniversary. CCE is 10 years old. Believe it or not.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we are hosting a party on May 26th, and it's open to members, Momentum members, and our donors and people in the community that we've been cultivating. So if you're a Momentum member, you'll get an invitation to this, and that's one of the perks of membership. So I hope you'll consider being a Momentum member. It's something that it's real value that we provide most months to our community, and really focus on creative businesses and how they're growing and scaling. So just a little bit about Momentum. We are a membership organization. We have monthly meetups. We actually have a directory. We provide focus around growing your business, and we introduce people to each other, and it's a real networking and inspirational type of event. So it happens the third Thursday of most months. And it's usually now it's on Zoom. We were having lunch events, and they were, great when we could meet, and hopefully we'll get back to that eventually. So that's the Momentum, and there's a slide about that's the cost. It's very reasonable. You can do it monthly or annually, however you want to do it, but you basically get a profile on our website. You get a members only directory, and then you can be found. Your website gets higher ranking in search engine optimization calculations if you're in Momentum, because we share other people's websites on our site. So it's a great tool to help promote your business. And you all should be members. We'd love to have you. So basically, now let's move on. We are going to get to the business at hand. We're so excited to have these three amazing entrepreneurs, creative entrepreneurs. They have all been in our Velocity and/or Creative Startup Accelerator. We've been running an accelerator for, this will be our 6th one. So for 5 years, we've had successful accelerators. The success of our companies are amazing. It's now 50 companies have been launched. They are 90% still in business. I think the latest is about 9 million in revenue and 10.7 million in investment has come in to these startups. And I'm going to introduce our moderator today. We are pleased to have Preet Singh, who is the founder of Live Furnish. And Live Furnish is a photography automation platform for home furnishings. They produce realistic, high-resolution images of fabrics, textiles, and furniture, all within 60 seconds. And their focus is on the fabrics, textiles, and furnishings. And Preet was in our 2019 accelerator. And based on his experience and all the customers and mentors he met, he has actually relocated from New Delhi to Winston-Salem. He moved just in time for COVID and has, kind of gotten to know everybody via Zoom, but he's pretty brave and has emerged and is now taking meetings. But he was very fortunate during this time based on his amazing business model and the work and his incredibly hard work. And I mean hard work. He does not miss a meeting, and he doesn't, he works hours every day. He has now received angel funding of 1.4 million for his company from Venture South. And I'm really pleased to say this is one of the first startups in the triad that Venture South has funded. They look at deals every year from our teams, but have not invested that much yet. But so we're very proud of Preet. He is currently working in Winston Starts on the 4th floor of 500 West 5th. So he's just down the stairs a little bit. And Winston Starts is one of our partners. If you go through the Velocity Accelerator, you actually get the opportunity to apply for Winston Starts, and they are actively tracking everyone that we bring into our programs. So Preet, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can introduce our panelists and take it away.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, thank you, Margaret, for the really kind introduction. I rarely get to hear such good things about myself, but yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and introduce Stella as well as Margot. And I hope I got the name right. So Stella and me, we were in the same accelerator together. We were in Velocity, and we went through the program together. So I know Stella really well. Now, Stella is an actress, and she's also the founder and CEO of Audiciones Latinas. It's the LinkedIn for artists. And Stella's based in Mexico. And she helps a lot of Hispanic artists find work through Audiciones Latinas, where she's been able to create a marketplace where, artists are able to connect with the right kind of work, with the right kind of auditioning, with the right kind of people. During 2019, when we were going through the accelerator together, I remember Stella's business growing really, really fast and thousands of users joining the platform. And it's just been going up ever since. Next, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Margot. Margot's the co-founder of EduMotion. Margot, you were a 2018 Velocity attendee, right? And so
right.
just
yes, it was called Creative Startups at that time.
Yeah.
You were the first class where we called it a Velocity.
Oh, yeah. My bad. So just a little bit about Margot. What's very interesting is that she works at the intersection of dance, arts, and physical education. Would that be correct to say, Margot?
Yes, and social emotional learning.
Yeah, social, and that was going to be my next point. It's social and emotional learning. I'm still learning a lot about this, and it's very interesting how she's been able to take all of that online and be able to reach out to more number of people and help a lot more people on the platform, as well as with what she trains. I did spend a lot of time on EduMotion, and I have to say it's very, very informative, and it really gives a great sense. It's like a great website. It really explains what you guys do, which is rare, especially for most startups, for their website to really explain what they do, and I really appreciate that. So next, I'm gonna let Stella and Margot take over, and maybe we can start with Stella and let her give us a little bit of background about Audiciones Latinas.
Thank you very much, Preet. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, everyone, for the invitation. It is an honor. I will share my screen to show something here about the Audiciones Latinas. Can you see it?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. I will talk a little bit about me and about my path on this world of entrepreneurship, and about what is Audiciones Latinas doing and what is the plan of this. First, I will talk and I will say that I am, as Preet said, I'm from Mexico. I am from a little town called Zacatecas. I am an actress. I study acting in Los Angeles. I have been doing plays since I was 15 years old. And then when I was actually in Los Angeles, I realized that there are a lot of needs in all around the world of the artist, and more in Latin America, of what is going on with the opportunities for artists. Well, like I passed through that. I graduate and I say, what's next, right? So where I will find some jobs for me here. And I remember that I was thinking about, hopefully there will be something like LinkedIn where I can get in my profile and apply for opportunities and see all the opportunities for me. And that's how it started. I also studied computing when I was 14 years old, and I also have my career in business. And like Steve Jobs said, connecting dots, right? So I figured out in the future what was happening in my past to make things happen together and make things, what I was doing that when I was 14 years old, and why arts, why business, why technology. And then you realize that you prepare yourself without knowing that you are ready to do something that is for you, and that's how it came to Audiciones Latinas. That is a marketplace, is the future of talent casting. Audiciones Latinas innovates the way artists find jobs. Our mission is to match talented and emerging artists with great opportunities. It is a marketplace that finds options with artificial intelligence. So in 3 seconds, you can find the right talent, the best artist, with facial recognition. So what you can do in the platform is you can post a job, and then when you can search and discover with artificial intelligence. You can schedule a casting, organize your applicants, and you also can have live callbacks. So I will talk about later about the pandemic, what happened in the pandemic. Something that I have to tell is that having this and starting this in a place like Mexico, in Latin America, where I am Latina, where I am a woman, and that the entrepreneur things are starting, just starting in my country is very difficult. And it is more difficult when you plan to do something new, when there is nothing about innovation in this industry, more in Latin America, where the industry is very closed. And I have to say that in Latin America and in Mexico, we adapt to the biggest cities and the biggest countries like United States. So starting something new that nobody knows has been something very difficult for me as an entrepreneur being here and to make this disruption. So that's I'm gonna tell later about the pandemic and what changed with the pandemic, this way of mind and way of thinking. So in summary, we are enabling talent artists to access the industry's best jobs. So I let Preet and Margot to continue the.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, thank you, Stella, for that detailed information. Looks great. The deck looks beautiful. We've come a long way, haven't we? So, Margot, we're going to let you take over now and talk about your company and what you're doing.
Great, thank you, Preet. And that was excellent hearing from you, Stella. I'm glad to be here. I'm going to go ahead and share a few screens to tell you more about EduMotion and a little bit about me as well. So let me get to that. All right, so we are an education technology company with a mission to energize schools and communities by fostering inclusion, respect, and social awareness through the joy of movement. Some background about me. In 2006, I started my first company, which is an organization with a program name called Dancing with Class. And I'm based in the city of Chicago, and I started a program in 2006 that now serves over 100 schools per year in the Chicagoland area with direct instruction programs, meaning we train local dance artists to go into schools on the curriculum that I've developed. We do all different types of partnerships with schools, mainly K through 8 schools, but we do service pre-K through 12. And that is the original program that I started in 2006, and it kind of blossomed, and we have developed actually a few different curriculum that we base different programs on. And I started, along those years, we had only marketed ourselves pretty much locally, but through organic web searches, people from schools in other states and cities and even other countries were finding us and asking how they could get our curriculum into their school. And it was particularly because of this program we developed called Dance Around the World, which is about teaching empathy and building peer relationships and cultural appreciation by learning through the act of dancing with peers. And we always wanted to present a diverse array of dances. So we call on expertise, the rich cultural expertise of artists who find themselves living in Chicago to help build this curriculum. So fast forward to around 2017, I finally decided to get serious. I had sort of been thinking about, well, how would I want to expand or build, or what would be the best way to potentially make our curriculum a viable thing in other markets. And we had toyed with kind of trying to replicate our direct instruction model in other cities. But there's a lot of barriers and things that make that more challenging than it actually sounds. So we finally, I had actually, before I started the Dancing with Class program in 2006, I had spent a few years working as a multimedia producer. My education I actually have a dance minor, but I have a communications and journalism major. And so I started working for a couple different web content companies before I decided that I needed to pursue something that involved my passion for dance. So, so I had some skills. I wasn't afraid of thinking about building a content and technology platform, but I knew the vision of what we wanted to do needed to be super interactive and very much video based and very engaging for students in order for it to come anywhere close to being as engaging as our direct instruction programs. So I started leveraging different people in my network to kind of think about how I could make this happen, and ended up piloting what we now call our SEL Journeys program. And we kind of did some rebranding, and it's delivered on a digital platform with student-facing lessons that combine movement, social emotional learning, and cultural arts-based learning. We piloted in 2018-19, which was the same year I did the Creative Economy. It was called Creative Startups, what is now the Velocity Accelerator, which was really helpful, but also really crazy to be going through that at the same time we were basically trying to launch our pilot. And then a year later, we got selected from over 400 international ed tech companies for some funding from the New Schools Venture Fund and another year of like mentorship and support. So that was a huge milestone for us. A little bit about our impact: 83% of students served through our programs are low income, 31% of students served speak limited English. And then there you see where we are right now. We have we still continue to do our 100 plus in-school residencies through direct instruction in Chicago each year. We also have on our digital platform, we have over 1,500 teachers actively using the digital content and curriculum program. And we serve, this slide's actually a little out of date. We serve well over 300,000 students every year. Some outcomes. So I mentioned before, social emotional learning is a sector in the education market that has gained some very serious momentum in the past 3 or 4 years, although it's been around for more than 30 as far as like the research and evidence base for this field. This is some of the student reported outcomes of our program tied to the key 5 pillars of social emotional learning. So pretty self-explanatory. So I've already mentioned a lot about me. I have over 15 years of experience in movement-based education. I'm a founding member. I'm really interested in collective impact. So I really lean into getting involved with a lot of organizations in my industry. So I serve on the SEL Providers Council and an SEL Task Force for Shape America. And I mentioned that I had an early career as a digital media producer. The artists you see on the right are Chicago-based artists who are awesome and amazing. And so that's my team. And then for the design and development of our platform, we've partnered with an excellent partner that is Just Creative, which is a small boutique human-centered design and development company based here in Chicago as well. I won't go too much since you guys aren't I'm not selling to you as educators today, but these are some of the platform features that we tout. A lot of these things were very central to our design in that they emerged in the focus groups we did with teachers before designing the product, as far as being easy to use and some of the other features that they wanted. And I've mentioned a little bit, we have an interesting intersection, as Preet mentioned when he introduced me. We really sit at this intersection of physical activity and health and wellness education, as well as arts education, and then the cultural learning sort of social studies component, which means we're able to get the interest of a lot of different types of educators to consider incorporating our curriculum into their teaching. So we have members who are general education teachers, physical education teachers, arts and dance teachers, school counselors, social workers, and social emotional learning specialists, special education teachers, out of school time program leaders, and PTO program leaders. So we have active content users in 49 states plus DC, as well as 15 other countries, spanning every continent except Antarctica. And then, yeah, so that's, again, this is kind of our some numbers that we've a little bit outgrown, but we are continuing to grow and have some really exciting partnerships in the works too. So a few of our key partners are listed over on the right, and that's it. So you'll hear from me a lot more as we go through our panel discussion today, but my contact info is here. If anything I said caught your interest and made you want to connect directly with me, I'm happy to hear from people, and email is usually the best way to get a hold of me. So thank you.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, Margaret, for that detailed information, and it looks great. Looks like you're doing great. Looks like things are going in the right direction. That's beautiful that you're helping so many kids out. Personally, for me, I wish this was around when I was a kid. I would have definitely been able to get help. My parents would have definitely put me into it. Moving from there, I'd like to sort of like turn the conversation into a little bit about, understanding how, when people think of a creative business, they're looking at, a creative business that's, different from a regular tech startup or regular manufacturing unit or any of those other things. I want to sort of understand and sort of want you to highlight on how you're using today at its core to be able to disrupt the industry that you're working in. We can go with either. Margot, you want to take that one first?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So how we are disrupting the industry we're working in. So first of all, we just have an extremely kind of unique product offering. There's really not much else out there like it. So that inherently is something really fresh, new, and different, and empowering students who, one of the reasons that the program is so popular, social emotional learning that uses movement, dance, etc., is shown to have particularly strong outcomes for English language learners. And part of that is because it's an expressive form of communication that doesn't rely on words. So it allows using this nonverbal approach. So our approach inherently is a little disruptive in that it's so unique. Another thing though that we're really proud of is our primary program outcomes are related to peer relationship building and building like classroom camaraderie and social awareness. And for an ed tech product, that's like unheard of. Like one of the criticisms of ed tech products is that they're too isolating for students, that they sit on their iPad and do this. But our whole experience is designed to be engaged, enjoyed as a group, and all about engagement. So it's kind of using technology in a surprising way in that regard.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, ever since the pandemic hit, do you think the use of technology is kind of shaped a little bit? Has it changed?
Yeah, I mean,
getting together as hard.
Yeah, it's exciting because a lot of teachers who were hesitant to use a lot of technology are now way more comfortable with it. And also schools have completely stepped up their game as far as what kind of technology they have available to teachers and in classrooms. So where at first that was sometimes a barrier, I think we're going to, especially once we get on next school year, I think things will be really different in that regard. And then we've done some pivoting this past year to make our program available at home and starting to use it as a tool for family engagement as well. So that's been something interesting that's emerged that hopefully we'll hang on to as we move ahead.
Yeah. So Stella, moving over to you, talk to us about how you're using technology right at the center of your product to sort of change the way artists are finding jobs today. You're muted, Stella.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what I found when I started this and started to pivot and started with the beta program, the beta prototype, I didn't find any restriction in how artists can adapt to the technology. I think artists adapt right away to the technology, but the problem or the issue that we enforced was the adaptation of the recruiter side, the casting directors in our case, because they have been doing everything since years, physically printed, like very archaic ways. And with Audiciones Latinas, the disruption is that they don't have to do anything physical. So when pandemic arrives, they needed to do it online. So I was like there for them, and it helped us because they came to us by themselves to use this online because they needed it. It is true that all the jobs stopped in all around the world with artists, but when they are starting again, they are using this. And I think in the future it will be hybrid, and it is going to stay. So the disruption is that the casting directors automate everything. They spend less money. They used to spend $6 billion per year in Latin America, the casting directors and the producers company, to get them to cast talent. And they spent months to find the right talent. So with Audiciones and the disruption with the technology, they just take some minutes to find the right talent all around the world and in the region that they are, and they spend less money, way less money. So that's how the pandemic helped us to change right away the mindset of the casting directors to adapt to the new reality.
Yeah, that's great, because for a lot of companies, the pandemic has sort of been an enabler rather than a disabler in many ways. We kind of ourselves with Live Furnish. As soon as the pandemic hit and all the stores shut down, the images went up like crazy because everybody was like, all right, we're going to have to start selling online. But to sell online, you need beautiful images, and all the photography studios are closed. Comes Live Furnish, and that works beautifully. I'm glad to hear that story. So I'm gonna turn a little bit now into another question that's always, and me as an engineer, I always wonder, and I've always wanted to ask two founders that, as a non-technical person, right? How is it, or how does it feel, or what's your journey been of building a technology-led business? Yeah. So talk to us about it. Margot, do you want to go first on that?
Sure, no problem. So I would say for me, the networking, I am not naturally like someone who just loves networking and going to, I don't know that many people really even are, but when I decided that I wanted to do this, as I mentioned, I have a little bit of like kind of content production, but not buildings. This is whole like custom software, and there's no way out of my skill set. So I really just started leaning in to kind of the innovation ecosystem, kind of starting in Chicago, like just tapping into places like CCE that exists in Chicago, although there's nothing quite like it that I know of here, which is why I ended up connecting with CCE, because it's so specifically focused on creatives and artists. But I really, there were for sure. I went to a thing for female founders in Chicago, and one of the speakers is a co-founder of a different ed tech startup that's based here. And after she presented, and I was like, okay, I need to introduce myself, because she was the only other like ed tech person, or everyone was different types of companies. But I was like, she's in ed tech and I need to meet her. And I'm like, no matter what, I'm gonna go and talk to her and get her card. She was super friendly, and she is the reason I ended up finding the Adjust Creative, who's built my product. And she's also who told me about the opportunity that I mentioned in my slides with the New Schools Venture Fund, which are two just like having, like going to that event and walking up and talking to that person. I'm like, if I hadn't met her, I don't even know like what I'd be doing. It would be a different journey altogether. So I guess it's just proof to me of like the power of networking and why it's so important. And yeah, so I think that was how I solved the problem of how am I going to get this done, is I just started talking to anyone and everyone who I thought might be able to help, and eventually was lucky to like find a person who somehow was the magic person for me to connect me to those resources.
So Margot, talk to us about how do you navigate decisions about what technology to use, how to go about it, how to choose a partner, when you're not yourself from, say, a custom software tech kind of background. Sort of,
yeah.
I kind of feel like it's very helpful, because a lot of non-tech founders feel that there is this barrier that they have to jump to be able to, they may have a really good idea, but like in terms of execution as to, hey, how the hell am I going to go through that? Like, right. What do I need to look for?
Yeah. So I guess, so one is we were 100% bootstrapped. So like we didn't have a huge budget to go out and like hire some big fancy firm to do this for us. So we looked at working with people overseas, and then I talked to a few different local people who had been recommended. And so Adjust Creative is small, and like I mentioned, it's kind of a boutique. And they were really excited about my product and idea. So they've been like great as far as really being a partner in the process and making it possible for us within the resources that we had. So I guess it was, as far as like deciding like, okay, what, coding language are we going to use, if or are we going to get something that's off the shelf, or are we going to build something from scratch? Like that was really, I felt like I had found the right people, and then I trusted their advice on like the best way to build it. And
so the answer lied in the people.
Yeah, and I feel like I got lucky, and that we didn't make a mistake.
That's perfect. Yeah, Stella, talk to us about. I understand you have a pretty solid technical team. And you guys have been like cranking out features like crazy. Like you guys have done a great job on the platform. Talk to me about like being a non-technical founder and navigating those challenges, or how you and your team work together on that.
Yeah, it has been one of the most difficult things as an entrepreneur. I think I spent like a whole year finding the right team and the right technicals, people to make this happen. I passed through many things. I remember that I was like in my school, and who is the best programmer here in my school? And I approached him and I told him, hey, can you do this? And he said, no, I can't. And then I jumped into Guadalajara and tried to find people and tried to find companies, and it couldn't happen. When I started, I compete Audiciones Latinas with the biggest companies, and they made a quote to me. And when they made a quote, the quote was like $1,000,000 pesos, and I was like, oh my God. So I was realizing that I was learning and realizing that I had to do first an MVP, right? I was doing a plane at the beginning. I didn't know what I was doing. But when I was like kind of tired finding the right programmer to do this, it suddenly appeared a guy who is from India, actually.
I know. Yeah. Well, we're carrying the engineering backbone of this world. Yeah. I'm joking.
And he is he works for Oracle. He's the technical director in Oracle in Dallas. And he helped me to find the right people in Latin America. And he was like making some interviews for Latinos who he were working with. And he helped me to find. So right now I have a co-founder who is from Colombia, and he's amazing. So, but it took me along.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're gonna go one step further in the journey of, once you found your team, you've started working on your product, you go to market, you start selling, or you start acquiring customers. Like we hear investors, magazines, blogs, all of those people talk about this magic word. I call it a magic word called product market fit. That essentially that magical place where you realize your product fits in, is accepted by your community or your users, and people are willing to pay for it. And the resistance to adopt your product drops considerably. I sort of want to understand from you guys, how do you think about it? Where are you on that journey? What were some of the main challenges that you went through while reaching, or if you're still working on it? Because for myself, I'm still working on product market fit. I kind of feel like it's this dream I'm chasing that like keeps getting bigger as I keep getting closer. It's like, it's still a while more, So talk to me, talk to us about that. Stella, you want to take a stab at that first?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I say that is magic also, like you. Is I don't think any startup end or finish making product market fit. You are always making product market fit, because the market changed, life changed. Suddenly you have a pandemic, so you have to reinvent everything, right? So for me, in my case, I am still in the product market fit, and the reality to make that happen is not thinking about what is going to happen. If instead you have to be there in the reality and watching what is happening, and what are the needs of the users, right? So in this case, in Audiciones Latinas, we are making a great advance on that, because we have made a big alliance with one of the top casting directors in Mexico and Latin America. He's now a partner, and he's telling us what do we have to move or improve or add to the platform, and that's where in the real need in the world, we are adapting on the users that are making it happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. Margot, talk to us about where you feel you are. I saw from your slides that you're pretty far along, but talk to us about product market fit.
Yeah, well, I would say, we're obviously very far along as far as the original program that I launched back in 2006. We know that's a very well-oiled machine, although I will say that the pandemic threw some major curveballs, and we'll see where it's going to be an interesting couple of years, I think, even with that program. But as far as the technology-based program, I would say we're not like at a mature stage of product market fit there yet. I think we're still finding our pockets. And so there's a few reasons for that, so we piloted, as I mentioned, in 2018-19 school year. And that pilot was intentionally, we weren't selling yet. We were focusing on a select number of schools that we could get a lot of data feedback. So really we were doing like proof of concept, like, can we deliver this program on this tech-based platform and get student outcomes and get student engagement and provide something that teachers find valuable. So that was kind of that first, so we really didn't start marketing it, like selling it, until spring of 20, so spring is when a lot of schools do their budgeting for the following school year. So spring of 2019, we officially went to market. And we got off to a pretty good start and started, as we showed in our slides, we kind of have a lot of different types of educators and a lot of, we're in after school programs, we're in school day programs, we're all over the place. And perhaps that is our fit. And like, that's the beauty of it. But 2019-20 school year is when we started building momentum. And then guess what happened in the beginning of 2020? So we really haven't had a full normal school year yet of selling this program. And on top of that, the buying cycle in education is very slow, very long, with multiple stakeholders making the buying decision. So it's not an easy market to sell in. That said, so I think we have made like a lot of partnerships and a lot of sales across like different pockets of the education sector, but I don't feel like we've kind of hit that explosion stage in any one of those. So I think that's kind of our holy grail that we're still working towards. And I think, as I meant, like the pandemic in some ways helped us, but in some ways definitely hurt us too, as far as just the education has just been, so reactionary and so like crazy this year. So I think schools have a lot of Band-Aid solutions to survive, but aren't really thinking about their long-term plans and investments. So so we're kind of in an interesting phase, but we have some, again, like really excited. We're really looking into some strategic partnerships with certain other players, and one that in particular that we're hopeful is going to fall into place in the next couple months. And the future still feels very bright. Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of, one of the investors in our company, and he's an investor in a lot of other companies, a pretty cool guy. So when I was with him in San Francisco, I asked him like, hey, how will I know if I've met product market fit? Like, what is that feeling that I'll get that I will now know that I got product market fit? There's gotta be a metric that we're tracking, right? And he said something very interesting to me, and it stuck with me. He said, product market fit, you will get that feeling when your conversion rate goes up considerably. So he's like, if you're meeting 10 customers today, 10 potential customers and closing one, you don't have product market fit. The day you start converting 8, 9 of those customers, you'll automatically realize that every conversation with someone in that industry who has the potential to buy is buying, right? That is when you kind of feel like, that's what I was told. We kind of did we feel like we're getting closer to it, because I've been like, I'm very anal about tracking conversion rate now. And I'm like, why did we lose a customer? Why didn't they sign on? What went wrong? What can we do to fix it so that we convert more and more and more? And that's kind of sort of like, that's how I'm thinking about product market fit. But one thing that I kind of feel is, ever since the pandemic hit, there's this, you have to be so agile and so flexible. Like, nobody predicts a pandemic, right? Nobody's like, hey, maybe the world's going to get shut down next year, so I got to make some changes to my product. No, nobody thinks like that. How was that journey? And I know I can see that we're running out of time, but I want to ask this question, like, how was that decision making, that thought process of like, oh shit, the world's just shut down. I still got to run a business. I got to make payroll. And I still have ambition to grow. How did you guys handle that? Like what happened, Margot? Talk to me about it.
Yeah, well, for us, like last spring was totally just triage. Like we had, especially for our Chicago-based programs, suddenly our artists were doing like recording themselves, had to become like video producers overnight and things like that. So, but we got through it, and we've done some interesting new things this year with that side of things. As far as our tech product, yeah, it was like, oh, how can my students access this from home? And we were set up so like our login is based on the teacher logs in, not the individual students. So we really had to think about. So we in the spring we just started doing these free learn at home lessons, 1 a week. And we just, like a lot of education technology programs in the spring, we're just saying, you know what, we just want to help the educators. It's free for right now. Like, so, and we kind of followed suit and pivoted, did some content for at-home enjoyment, made a sort of workaround way for people to log in from home and us still know what school they're affiliated with or whatever. So that was like the Band-Aid for the spring. And then over the summer, we kind of regrouped. We're lucky that in education, you do always have that summer kind of like time to really reflect a little bit and figure out what you need to address. But so we did actually add some totally new features, anticipating a year of a lot of remote learning over the summer. So yeah,
that's awesome.
That's kind of it's been just crazy, but it's kind of like, I think the initial phase was like panic, get something out there, very reactionary, and then the summer was kind of like, okay, what's our game plan for the next year? And I think now we're going to be at another crossroads of, okay, like everyone's going to pretty much probably be back in school more normally next year. So what do we keep? What do we not keep about what we did this past year?
Yeah. I mean, I look at it in a way where I say, then we raised our seed round during the pandemic, and I've never even met the investors that gave me all the money, like in person, I've only ever seen them on Zoom, right? We're like two digital little things talking and giving so much money and information to each other. Stella, you want to take a stab at that? Like, how did you guys say, okay, we're just going to like sit back, take a couple of weeks and just look at the product, watch the market, do some development? What was it like?
Yeah, we were like, oh my God, all the jobs are stopped, right? All the castings are done. There is not going to be more castings. I don't know when.
There are no movies being made, right?
What? Sorry?
There are no movies being made. There's no plays being directed. There's no audiences coming out.
That's nothing. I was like, I have 45,000 people here in our platform. What can we do with that? And we developed Audiciones Latinas Academy in the time of the pandemic. So what we did is we bring very high artists that were teachers, and they started to teach through Audiciones Latinas Academy, that we did a very fast another platform to education or artist education, and we started to earn money through that. And there, with our community, they pay tickets to get in, still capacitating themselves, not being there with doing nothing. And we knew that when this restarted, as now, like I think right now it is starting again, all the castings, they realize about Audiciones, and we improve also the platform last year, and we wait until they realize we exist and they are using us, and change that mind for good. So that's what we did.
That's awesome. So you were actually able to sort of start giving them a master class and start charging money. So you started holding virtual events. That's beautiful. I wish I'd thought about that. So I'm coming towards the end of my time, but there's one last question I want to sort of touch upon. And this means a lot personally to me as well, because I owe a lot to Margaret and to Velocity. Talk to us about your experience at Velocity or creative startups. That's what Margaret went to. And how did it, like, in like a quick way, like how did it affect your business? Yeah. Stella, you want to take a stab at that first?
Absolutely. Well, I see you guys as my family. It really changed my life when I went to Velocity and when I knew you. I met you. In Velocity, I find, for example, Ryan. Ryan is still one advisor of Audiciones, and I keep in touch with him very often. With you, Preet, with many of you. And I can say that I feel like you guys are people that care about entrepreneurs, and I love the way that focusing on the creative industry that I don't know where else in the world focus on this market that is very forgotten in the world, and I really feel a support from you guys, and it's amazing. It's amazing, Velocity, and congratulations about everything that you have done, Margaret and Destiny and all the team.
Awesome. Yeah, Margot, you wanna share with us?
Yeah, for sure. So when I had read about creative startups in actually the alumni magazine for Northwestern University, because a previous participant had gone through it and gotten featured in the magazine, and she actually also had a dance background. So somehow it caught my eye, and I was like, what is this thing? So I looked this woman up who had done the program, and she said really good things about it. I was like, I'm gonna give this a try. So, but I guess for me, I think even when I was in the accelerator, you know, some people were like, well, will you already, because I was kind of in this weird hybrid of like, I had a business that was, you know, already 10 years old, but then I also was starting this tech thing. And I really just decided that the smartest way to do it would be to start from scratch, like to put myself in the mindset of a tech startup, because that's really, as far as like being in ed tech, that's where we were. And so while we did have like the curriculum knowledge that we brought over, yeah, so I think that like it was like the perfect thing for us to sort of like wipe the slate clean and like just build something from the ground up. And the curriculum was like really great for us to just kind of go through the steps. Like there were things where we were like, oh, we kind of already know that. And then we like did the curriculum and we're like, oh, maybe we didn't know it as well as we thought we did. And so I just think, yeah, so that was great. And then of course the relationships and the mentors, many of whom I have kept in touch with even 3 years out. So it's been just, I can't say anything but good things about it. And like Stella said, especially the focus on creatives is really unique. So there's such a big focus on innovation and accelerators and stuff like that here in Chicago, but nothing focused on artists. And so even though we have a huge art scene, so yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, Margaret's been sort of instrumental to all of us in sort of getting us on that journey, pushing us forward, telling us where we're screwing up and like congratulating us when we're doing well. You know, Margaret, thank you for doing all that for us. And I'm now gonna like let Nicole take over and get on with the Q&A. Nicole.
Thank you, Preet.
Hey, yeah,
Thank you, Margo. Thank you, Stella. That was a great conversation. I'm gonna look in the chat. If anyone wants to raise their hand, unmute or unblock your video, please hop on and please ask questions. And I'll be looking in the chat for right now.
And I want to say thank you, Preet and Stella and Margot. This was an amazing conversation. You all brought up so many really interesting points about how along your journey of you know, how you were, you know, so motivated and diligent and persevered through lots of hardship but kept going and then finding that fit. And, you know, it's great. And I truly, we here at CCE are truly in your corner and believe in you. We really believe in the creative economy. We know that creative entrepreneurs have the power to lead us through. We are the second responders. There are first responders, but the artists and creatives are the second responders and are going to help lead this economy out of the doldrums and get back on track. And I firmly believe that, because creatives have such an innovative way of approaching things, and you are always seeking the next thing, and are very open, and you're really smart too. You look at how smart, look how intelligent and smart these folks are. They're amazing. These women, two amazing women. And Preet's pretty smart too.
I have one question I want to ask. Margaret, what do I need to do to get invited to that Momentum party?
You need to be here on May 26th. And
okay.
We got you on the list. Don't worry.
Right. Okay, yeah. Then I'm sorry. Yeah.
But yes, so if you're a Momentum member, you get invited to, it's a party celebrating our 10th anniversary. And we will not have a Momentum event in May. So we decided, because we're having this party, we decided that we would invite all of our Momentum members to this party. And then we will resume in June. But before we go, we're going to share a slide with you about our June event. But before we do that, I just want to make sure we don't have any other questions for our distinguished panel. I know Rick had some great notes in the chat. Rick, I don't know, I'm so glad to see you on the call. Would you like to say anything about the topics you brought up about product market fit? And I love Margot's. Well, yeah, go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, that's fine. Nice job, everybody. It's good to see so many of you again. I've loved hearing the stories and what you guys have been up to, and you know that we're kind of constantly watching and following up and loving the progress that everyone's making. The comment I put in the chat, I think everybody can see, but it relates back to the comment that Preet made about product market fit and his investor, who said you'll know you've got fit when you know your conversion rate goes up. And my thinking, it's so interesting. Oftentimes when I talk to early stage companies, and actually even some companies that aren't early stage, when they think about fixing conversion rates, they often go, oh, well, I need to add another feature, or I've got a price problem, or the message isn't right. And, my conversation with them is, well, you also ought to take a look at who you're talking to, because you really need to be talking to what we used to call the Q&Is, the qualified and interested people, right? The folks who really are good prospects. And so a really good way of thinking about improving your conversion rate is to get much more laser focused on who your best prospects are. That's at least as valid as adding new products or features to what it is you're trying to do.
And that is what the words of wisdom from one of our Velocity mentors. So yes, if you go through Velocity, you have access to amazing people like Rick Leander. So indeed, thank you, Rick. Anyone else? Artists are healers. That's so true, Margot. Okay, well let's, yes. Oh, Will.
Hey, I just kind of want to build on sort of the story Margot told. And Preet, you were talking about it specific to technology development partners, because that's the forum here. And I just kind of want to stress the importance of finding subject matter experts who are both legitimate, but also that you can trust. And I know a startup that is not in the tech space, but they partnered poorly with an industrial manufacturing firm to sort of build their prototypes. And it scuttled the company because they did a terrible job, and they didn't find this partner through a trusted network. It was an intersection at a trade show, and they basically got sold a bill of goods, and it sounded really good. And they didn't do a good job vetting them, and it was an existential failure for the firm. So obviously, we're really partial to Momentum and CCE, but Margot, your story was a great one about in your community where you built a connection to somebody that you could know and trust and would get you to the right advisors. choosing, I don't know, every statistic you read is different. 90% of startups never make it past the first year, blah, 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 blah. But whatever the number is, the point is it's really, really hard. So leverage these networks, continue to build your networks, because that reality doesn't change. Now, as you get bigger, you can absorb a bigger shock. But it's a really important piece of the pie, and it's not just on technology, but it can be really on sort of any part of your value chain where you spend a lot of money. But great session. I'm gonna have to jump off here in a second, Margaret, to get ready for my next one. But thanks, everybody. It was great seeing everybody, but particularly our alumni again. Yeah,
it was great. This was a real treat for us. So we will move forward, and that's another, Will Spivey is also a Velocity mentor. So we're thank you, Will. Awesome. People, it's really great to hear from our alumni. We'll have to do this more. Okay, so we have some slides just to wrap this up. I want to let you know that we're continuing our mashup in the creative tech space. We will be having another, as we mentioned, we're not having a momentum event in May. We're having our 10th anniversary party, but on June 17th, we will welcome, we're going to have a special program on, the focus is on financial equity and overlooked communities. So we're going to feature Joe Carroll, who's a market president of Bank OZK, and Calvin Williams, who's the founder of Freeman Capital. Calvin is one of the first African-American owners of automated wealth management platform for retail customers. So this is going to be about how do you get money for your business, whether it's a startup or an ongoing business, and particularly if you're a woman, person of color, and or just an underserved entrepreneur. So those of you that that came today, please put this on your calendar. June 17th at 11:30, we'll be back focusing on financial equity. And financial equity means a lot of things. I mean, there's equity in in race and gender and just in general. But we know it as creatives because very often creative businesses are overlooked when it comes to financial. So we thought this was an important topic. So yes, so Nicole's going to put the link in the chat if you want to register for that event. If we have your email, you'll be getting a notice about it as well. And then just finally, just remind you that our Velocity applications are open. There is another link for that. Please tell anyone that you know about Velocity. It is an amazing program. You will get to interact with very, very special mentors that are customized to your work. We have over 30 plus mentors that really understand creative businesses. And this program is open nationally and internationally. We do not, as you can see, Margot and Stella are from Chicago and Mexico City, and we welcome them in Winston-Salem. Yes, they came to Winston-Salem, not for the whole time. It's a 10-week program. We catch you at the beginning for a kickoff weekend, and then at the end for our Velocity week. But in the meantime, we run it through a hybrid platform here on Zoom. But please think about that and share it with anyone you know that's a creative that could really benefit from a focused work on building your business. And I want to thank our amazing sponsors. We have Bank OZK is one of our sponsors, as well as the Forsyth County, and we have lots of other sponsors, but they particularly like to sponsor Momentum. And finally, just follow us on social media. We have lots of information. Our team, Nicole and Destiny and Suzanne, we're all putting out really good information on social media, not just selling stuff. We provide content that we think would be helpful for you. And if you follow us, then you can share more easily info that would be pertaining. If you can think, once you if you see a post, you can say, oh, that person Jim would really like to know about that, or Susan would really like to know about that. You can then share it really easily through our social channels. And that's it for me. Anyone got anything else? Stella and Margot are talking about how they love their time in Winston-Salem. Well, we would love to have you back. Please come back anytime. We should have an alumni reunion.
True.
Okay.
Thank
Any
y'all.
other-
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Nice job. Thank you all very much.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Okay.
y'all.
All right. Bye. Take care.
Um,
Bye. Thank you, Preet.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Stella. Thanks, Rick.
You bet.
Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
And we out.